I'll say the title. Or shall I speak it?
Orson Welles would do that. So yan na yun. Ganyan gagawin niya.
Orson Welles. Okay. Then it's Orson Welles. Okay. Then I know what to do. My friends, this is a foreword from the 21st century edition of my novel, The Firewalkers. After the second half of the last century, old Mr. Nick Joaquin at the Philippine Free Press began publishing stories written by an unexpected bumper crop of novatos in their teens. These young men and women, all born around the end of the Japanese War, seemed distinguished from their elders like Noliedo, Brillantes, and Hilda Cordero by having no personal trauma from that late, great brutality. These writers sprouted like a cycle of cicadas from all over the regions and the tribes. Mostly educated from an American model common reader, the bright-eyed swarm grew into an understanding amid communications explosions sparked by wartime interests and technologies. Then, sheer exhaustion and idealist obligations allowed the release of the fledgling democracies into the new international order. The victorious cultures were celebrated, the defeated examined for their flaws. Here, our young writers apprenticed into the realities and opportunities of the post-colonial world. From thence, they wrote in different voices and accents, in varying degrees of skill, an eclectic range of novel experiences and concerns, from the realistic to the fabulous. There were many traditional storytellers among them, attempting to master the classic methods and formats endorsed in the creative writing classes and the newfangled summer workshops. There were also eager experimenters in the newly revealed pleasures and freedoms of metafiction, with its severe criterions of algebraic intelligence, technical expertise, and playfulness. This and other mutating forms they discovered or rediscovered through random contacts with other newly exposed branching cultural streams, the rustic and the far-flung, contemporary as well as archaic, from previously inaccessible libraries. They were eager purveyors of popular entertainments, of the comic and the absurd, of esoteric chronicles from vanished principalities, of film and music, praise songs and myths, both authentic and spurious. As Joaquin urged, they invented their ancestors from a universe of donors to invent themselves. I was an outlier and a slow learner at the far edge of that group. I came from a provincial storytelling tradition, from a distant, perhaps imagined mountain. As a boy, I was curious about most everything, and while the hardness of life distracted my minders, I slipped where my curiosity led me. I ventured among spellbinders and chanters, the emergent makers of tools and instruments. I reveled in our rather shabby festivals, our contest of strength, skill, and grace. I tarried for amazement and clarification. I observed the power-seeking rituals of the anting-anting. I attended the Sanghyang, a syncretic arrangement between wandering Vedic guru and our animist forebears, where episodes of blood sacrifice, flower oblations, and firewalking lure the spirits to speak. Under the night sky, with stars streaming in jubilant parade, I was instructed on the circles of time and chance. I learned the names of the heroes and the archangels at the gates of the great houses, while the valiant, bound by no order nor law, sought the darkness where it fled. We saluted the great winds, coming at us from opposite directions, one after the other in the year, bringing the furious rain, the games of summer, and the zephyrs flittering between. We learned the signs that presaged the ripening of grain, of fruit, the arrival of animals, and the far-voyaging birds. We spoke the lines and the rhymes that may contain a precise, cataclytic sequence of chords and syllables to woo open the door to the dizzying possibility of love. The Watch of Ladian, the story that ends this volume, was written in Farrago, 1972. On a vintage office Remington, most early mornings, an hour or so before the industrial whistle to start the workday, and then an hour or two after work. This was at the Mary Backrack building in the port area of Manila, where the air was sullen with shreds of dust of tobacco leaf, fuming from the factories that never stopped shuddering all day, all night. But the east was red, and the sparrows were within the gates. Murderers everywhere were sharpening their blades. In the span of a decade, over a hundred newborn, clumsy democracies were toppled, one horrific golpe after the other, in an authoritarian takeover of the world. The number of human casualties rivaled those of the declared wars among nations. Millions upon millions. The Firewalker was finished 14 long years later in 1992 on an IBM laptop computer during a forced sabbatical on a hilltop in Batangas, while the country, our country, tried to rearrange itself, but not too much, and not really. Mercenaries transferred allegiances, our treasury moved banks, and the killing went on. It was obvious that the Watch of Ladian was postlude to the Firewalkers. It was also apparent that the events of our interesting times, both the public as well as the precious, were grist for these intertwined narratives that hope to confront the present with amuletic relics of our invented past. Now, spellbinders and chanters assume us that all true stories are autobiographical. We are all that we can know. They claim our lives and the lives of all that we cherish are bound inextricably to the context of this world. The consequences of this knowledge is much sorrow. And, as expected, our turn came soon enough, though we were non-combatants and parties to the argument only by romantic affiliation. One rainy evening, they found us, pinioned us, broke the bones of our face, cracked the sockets of our eyes with rocks. The cicadas in the trees screamed. Ideally, Hemingway interrupted, "You should not break a writer's head open." That being settled, we struttled about, implying we were maimed not for our foolishness, but for our principles. Around the military camps, perversely around Christmas holidays, the twisted bodies of the unlucky dead lay under the bridge, under the snot-green creek, in the canals and the rain ditches. The monster was back, and it was eating the children. So then, as we had since the beginning of time, we retreated to shelter in the comfort, the counsel, and the exhortations of our mothers and our heroes. We lured them to our modest arrangements of summer flowers with our little daily sacrifices on behalf of those we love, with a graceless foot-dragging walk to the fire of life. We are roused from the exhaustion and the languor of ecstasy to see it is almost morning. We wake up and ask, did they come? What did they say? What did they command? They said, tell a story, make a song.